Welcome to Yeukai Business Show, UK's premier business show where we feature business thought leaders, high achievers, and industry experts. Today's episode is brought to you by World Outsourcing Solutions Limited, a company that specializes in helping executive business owners with virtual assistant services and business growth systems. Here's your host.
Hello everyone and welcome to the show. It's Trevor Stockwell with you today, and I'm joined by my guest Linda Mac Dougall. Now, Linda is a holistic health practitioner and massage therapist. She's also a management consultant to caregivers and a speaker, trainer, and an educator as well. She has decades of experience helping people, and she's also authored the book, The Spirit Method of Massage for Seniors. Lots we can learn from her today. So thanks for joining us today, Linda. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Trevor.
Maybe just to kick us off with, share a little bit about Linda's journey that sort of brought you to where you are now, via Hawaii, amongst other places.
Well, as I shared with you before the show, my mother kind of sent me on this journey when I was young. She didn't want to die, and she was very adamant about that. My mother was very outspoken anyway. And so she would say the devil's going to have to take me kicking and screaming. Well, as a child, that put a bit of the fear in me of dying. So I knew if I lived long enough, I would be working with seniors at some point just to get comfortable with where I was in life and where I was going. So that has worked well. But my journey there has been running group homes for United Cerebral Palsy, doing all sorts of different things like that. And then going to Hawaii, where I became a federal advocate for the developmentally disabled for the state of Hawaii. And then back to California and massage school and specializing in seniors and the disabled because they have a lot in common.
Yeah.
And now I'm here, written the book over the pandemic since I didn't have clients over the pandemic. So there you go.
Absolutely. It was a really good time for a lot of people to write books. Yeah, we've had other guests that have done a similar thing. I missed the boat on that one. I started mine afterwards, but hey, it's still in progress. But that's all good stuff. Do you mind if we share your age?
No, I'm 73.
Brilliant. The reason why I ask is A, because you're helping seniors now. B, for everybody listening, whether you're at that age, whether you're younger, everybody has people further on the journey of life in their world. And it's important that A, we consider them more. We listen to you, you'll share some things that will help us be more aware of that. But also from a business perspective, a lot of the principles that Linda's going to be sharing apply when we're looking after our team, when we're looking after ourselves as well and our health. So it's all key stuff. The main mentor in my life, John Maxwell, has turned 75 this year. So whilst he doesn't do everything at the moment now, he's handed a lot of tasks over. He's still very involved in the leadership community, raising up other leaders. So it doesn't really matter what age you're at, whether you're in your teens, your early 20s and listening to this, whether you're at the other end of the spectrum. We've all got something that we can share because we've all lived lives. We've made mistakes. We've learned things, haven't we, Linda?
Yeah.
So it's great to have an opportunity to listen to you, A, because of your decades of experience as well, but also you've lived a journey of discovery through health, through overcoming different things as well, which you've all kind of used and tapped on to help your clients as well. Maybe before we dig into your book and what's in that, what would be some of the things that you've sort of discovered and learned that can help us avoid maybe bad health later in life, or if we're interacting with maybe relatives or other people that are slightly older? What are some of the things we need to consider that maybe might be obvious or might not? Because a lot of the time the obvious stuff we miss, don't we?
Some of the obvious things to me would be take care of your bones, no matter what age you are. And by the way, teeth are bones. And if your teeth are bad, you better be looking at your bones. They're the same thing.
Yeah.
I found that out the hard way. I was diagnosed with osteoporosis. We were going to head over to Hawaii. And just before we went, I got a lot of dental work done. And I've always had good teeth. And I was going, what is up with that?
Yeah.
And then when I got to Hawaii, at some point, I was running downstairs and missed a stair and went on down and broke a bone in my foot going to my little toe.
Ouch.
And that took longer to heal than everybody thought it was going to. And I was over 50 at that point, and they were not asking me for any bone scans or nothing. And I finally said, guys, take a look.
Yeah.
And another thing that they did that I will try to be brief on, is they gave me crutches that were way too high for me, and they never adjusted them, and I kept falling again because of the crutches.
Yeah.
In fact, we had to ramp into a medical supply store to get me a walker instead, and I fell there because of the ramp pushing and the crutches pushing me backwards. So,
Crazy.
yeah, you have to make sure that the devices you get to help you walk in whatever way are adjusted to you. That is massively important, and very few people are doing that here in the States for our seniors. So I'll just put that out there.
Yeah.
It's crazy. We used to do that real well when I worked at the state hospital in California many, many decades ago. But teeth and bones are real important, because if you don't have your bones, you're going to end up with that dowager's hump, and you're going to be all bent over as you age. The spine deteriorates normally from the front. That's why you bend forward, because it's falling apart in the front.
Okay.
Okay. So teeth and bones are massively important to stay healthy. To maintain those bones and the joints, most people need good foot supports. And I don't mean just when you're old. I see almost no old people having them, oddly enough, when they should have had them decades ago.
Okay. When you say foot supports, what do you mean by foot supports?
Arch supports.
Okay.
In your, because another personal story. When we were in Hawaii, I was having more and more trouble with my feet. And we went to, at that time I was married to a Navy man, and we went to the Navy ball. We had some kind of red meat, we had wine, and we had gravy. All three of those are very bad. I want to say bunions. It's not bunions. I'm forgetting what they're bad for. The uric acid buildup, anyway, is what that is all about.
Okay.
And I thought that's what I had, but it wasn't. Turned out that the metatarsal arch below your toes had fallen as well. I already had the central arch, had fallen years ago, but the metatarsal arch had fallen, thereby the knuckles of the foot were smashed together instead of having them supported by an arch where they had open pathways through the different knuckles for the nerves to go through. So now I was walking and pinching nerves with every step.
Ouch. That sounds painful. Yeah.
You want a metatarsal arch if you're having any of that stuff going on. I mean, they do surgery, and sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad. I'd rather do the arch.
Yeah.
And
so that can, like a lot of the other things we help with clients as well, like if we start earlier in life with sort of preventive measures, we can then avoid a lot of the issues later on, can't we? And I know you're keen to try and help people understand and sort of educate the caregivers as well when people have got to a certain age where they're suffering from it that way. It's a similar thing like within an office, within a workstation. If the posture's not right, if the chair's not right, and all the rest of it, and we can have, musculoskeletal issues and things like that because it's just bad posture. So that makes a lot of sense. Anything else on the environment side of it that you've sort of noticed during your time?
You just need to be aware. Now, since this is a business show, I will talk a little bit about my time running the United Cerebral Palsy group home that I ran. Group homes, I should say. There were 2 of them. But there, like you were saying earlier, you had to be aware of your staff and where they were at. And you had to be aware of all the clients and where they were at.
Yeah.
Because some of them would have bad days and be really aggressive or something. And you even had to be aware if the parents of those developmentally disabled people came in, because we had some who were very disruptive there too. And you had to be on your toes to watch them and make sure they weren't going to cause some issues. So there's a lot to be aware of. I know when some of my girls were having a lot of issues, I would talk to them, find out that they were having domestic violence problems. So I was looking for shelters for them and their kids, things like that. I did a lot of extra weird stuff that most people don't do because I have a psychology background, and I wanted to make sure they were safe and well taken care of and get whatever help they needed. So it's awareness on so many levels. With our seniors, we have to be aware, if we're caring for them, to look at them every day, to really focus on them and see what's changed today, because they may not know. They may not notice. They may tell you everything is fine.
Yeah.
There's just, I'll give you another. I gave you one example before. I'll give you a different one now. I did a talk on the vices of mobility devices at a local retirement home. Toward the end of that, I had a little lady come up to me and she goes, "Will you come up to my room with me? I want to show you something." So I did. And that poor woman was so small. She had a pedestal bed in her room. I don't know if you've ever seen a pedestal bed, but that woman could not get her tiny rear end up on it really well.
All right.
And she was just straining to get her rear end on it so she could get on the bed. And I was watching her, and she could have easily fallen forward and smashed her head.
Yeah.
And I was going, I can't believe somebody set this up and didn't see what they were doing. This woman didn't need this kind of bed.
Yeah.
And it's just looking at the environment, talking and looking at the person, really being focused on what the environment and the person need. And it's the same thing in the work environment.
Absolutely. Yeah. I was just thinking that, like, specifically the focus on the individual, isn't it? Like, as you said, everyone's different. We're all at different stages in life. We all have different challenges at different times. One of the key things I think you touched on as well is the fact that people will say they're all right when really either they know they're not, but they don't want to talk about it, or they don't think you want to hear. Or it could be that maybe they don't know. They can't put it into words, but something's not quite right. And it really is having the presence of mind as a leader, as a business owner, as an individual, a human being, just having the presence of mind of being aware of the people around you, where they are, what's going on. If they appear a little bit different, if they're acting a little bit different, don't just shrug it off, but actually have the conversation where you can, and that comes down to relationship as well, which is built over time. But have that awareness and the conversation to just make yourself available to talk if they want to, and to listen as well. I think that's such a key thing, which is easily overlooked. We're busy, we want to do different things, lots of different activities we want to do and all the rest of it. But if we don't look after each other, then the business isn't going to continue, is it? It's counterproductive to try and think it would. So I think that's a key point that you made, which is really good. The other side of that, as you were sharing, was just sort of kind of getting inspired. Are we the sort of person that hides things, or are we happy as an individual to share it to somebody that will listen? Are we pushing something that we're struggling with aside, are we ignoring it, suppressing it, whatever, hoping it goes away, but it doesn't until you deal with it generally. So just we're throwing that out there to everybody listening. Just stop and ask yourself at one point: is there something that you're hiding, that you're trying to ignore, you're denying is there, but it's actually still around? Is there something in your environment which is obvious to you that you need to change, that just isn't working for you? Whatever that is, work or at home, and everybody else is just getting on with their stuff and just leaving you to it. Raise it, flag it up. Say, actually, this isn't working. I need to change something. We need to be more proactive with regards to our health at certain times, don't we, Linda? And then there are other times where it's the caregiver's responsibility, the business owner, the duty of care is we should look after the people that are working for us as well. So I like what you shared with all of that. Lots of good questions we can ask ourselves and each other in a way that helps develop us, and will also make the team healthier as well. I think such a key thing to think about. So when you were tuning in today, if that wasn't on your mind beforehand, now it's on your radar just to have a think about it. Just as Linda and I dig into more stuff, so that'll be really good. Maybe one more question before we dig into the book. You did a bit of a business shift, didn't you, from helping sort of just disabled people to then kind of widen the net to specifically focus on the senior generation, the people around us, slightly further on the journey of life. Any sort of challenges, or what was the steps that you took to, in some ways, put it in marketing terms, you changed your target audience, your avatar changed slightly, although a lot of the needs you said were the same. How did you sort of widen your net, shall we say, or shift your focus slightly?
How did I do that? Just started doing that. It was also fairly easy because the first job I had out of massage school was in a medical massage spa. And what I got were people around my age coming in to see me. And a lot of them had fibromyalgia, of all things. So I learned a lot about that specific thing on purpose because of who was coming in to see me and what I needed to do to make them more comfortable. What one lady was very interesting because she kept saying she didn't have it, she didn't have it, she didn't have it. When I kept saying, I think you might want to go see your doctor and get it. And then as I'm leaving San Diego, as I'm saying goodbye to the spa, she goes, well, my sister has it. And I went,
Yeah.
It's again denial, not being willing to see what was right in front of her.
Yeah.
So that was kind of interesting. And on that same note, I had a gentleman who said he had fibromyalgia since he was a kid. Now, most fibromyalgia doesn't show up until 20s, 30s. So that put a little red flag up. And then as I'm working on him, I find if I push certain areas of his back, his big toe would hurt, or his ear would hurt, or something else. And I kept telling him, I don't think you have fibromyalgia, but you need to go see your doctor and get it double checked because he hadn't done it since he was a kid. And he was in his 80s. I just said, from what I'm seeing, have him or her look at myofascial pain syndrome because it is the diagnostic equivalent kind of fibromyalgia. It's the differential diagnosis.
Okay. Yeah. So in some ways, then it was almost like your target audience gravitated towards you. They were coming to see you more, and then it was like, actually, yeah, maybe I should focus a little bit more on that. You touched on earlier that your mum had kind of raised your awareness about later in life anyway, so you knew at some point you would help them. Now that's interesting. And then the book is it just aimed at seniors?
It's not really aimed at seniors at all. It's aimed at massage therapists who work with seniors and caregivers who work with seniors.
Ah, okay.
I
Yeah,
wanted to raise that awareness of things I see, like the stories I've told you, that really nobody was looking at.
yeah,
And why not?
yeah,
Why did that little old lady come to me to go up to her room?
yeah,
She didn't know me from Adam. She knew the people at the home.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it makes a lot of sense. So the spirit method of massage, that's the title of the book. The spirit is an acronym, isn't it? Can we dig into at least some of that? We're okay time wise. Just dig into just a little bit about that method. Obviously, we're not going to fill the whole book in the moments that we've got left, but yeah,
Yeah,
give us a taster.
it's a small book and it's very easy to digest and read. I put it in little short bites. The spirit is an acronym, as you said. S is for seniors and understanding us and understanding where we are, all that. P is for physical issues and pathologies that we find in seniors. I is for informed inspiration. R is for respect. There's a whole galaxy of people around our seniors that you have to try and respect too.
Yeah,
I is for infirmity and identity. And that to me, as I told you earlier, is to me the key chapter in that whole thing, although the whole thing goes together. You have to understand what a disease or a disability does to a person who has been able. You have to understand what that does psychologically and emotionally and physically. They're no longer who they know themselves to be.
yeah,
That's a real hard shift for them, immensely. And it's hard for the family. I mean, if you see somebody go into dementia,
yeah,
that person, the face is the same, the body may or may not be the same, but the person isn't there that you knew and loved.
yeah, yeah. How just on that aspect, how could we? Because we talked about awareness earlier, and it kind of comes back to this as well. What are some things we can think about if we're either we have a relative that maybe is older and is now fighting some sort of ailment, or just somebody else in our world within the business aspect? How could we help them maybe take the first steps to adjust to? I used to be able to do all of this. Now at the moment, I can't do all of that. There's like a frustration, I guess, a coming to terms with it, maybe, or the denial, as we touched on earlier. What have you seen, and how have you sort of helped people at least start that process of adjustment? It's not a big
Um,
question, I know. I like asking big questions. I'm just
yeah,
curious.
that's a big one because a lot of people will deny, like you said, that there is anything wrong, even when you can see it. Their whole demeanor has changed. And it's hard. I was just on a Parkinson's uh, organization Zoom this morning, and one lady was saying that her husband won't exercise, he won't do anything, he's all depressed, he can't walk like he used to, and of course, if he's not walking, he's going to stop walking. So, first of all, the caregiver has to take that off of themselves because caregivers get so wrapped up in what they're doing for somebody else. They're almost a living doing.
Yeah,
And they have to stop and take care of themselves. And if you go down that rabbit hole with somebody, you can't take care of them
yeah, yeah.
or yourself. So that's caregivers are just, they're wonderful people for the most part, but they really get almost overly enmeshed in the other person.
Okay.
And oftentimes caregivers die before the one they're caring for.
Oh, wow, that's sobering, isn't it?
it's a lack of self-care while
Yeah.
you're doing everything for the other person.
And yeah, that again, that translates to everybody, doesn't it? I help a lot of people with self-leadership, and one of the key elements is the right balance of self-care. Um, you can easily get so wrapped up in your business that you're driving, you end up burnt out because you've not paced yourself, you've not delegated certain tasks to different people. Um, or the other side of that is maybe you're driving the people in your business too fast, too hard, without the right balance of they need a day off now and again, or um, you can't burn the candle at both ends and expect to just carry on in perfect health, can you? It just doesn't work like that. That's not the way we're wired. So yeah, I totally understand where you're coming from. There's the right balance of looking after ourselves so that we can look after other people. If we want to be in business 5, 10 years from now, we need to plan our health as much as forecasting revenues and growth and all of that sort of stuff. It's the mental and the physical health side of things as well, isn't it, that we need to factor in? So
It is. And as a boss, you need to make sure you're helping your people get that kind of help and get that kind of balance in their lives and not drive them to the brink of, exhaustion and
yeah,
complete withdrawal.
yeah, no, absolutely. This is good. This is maybe a slightly more sobering subject or discussion for some people listening, but it's time now, I think, for people. And wherever we are in our health journey, as well as age of life, health is huge, isn't it? We take it for granted when we've got it, and then we realize how precious it is when maybe either we suffer or we see other people suffer. And it's just appreciating what we have, enjoying it as well, but also planning for a good long life ahead of us as well. So that's really good. I know some of the things you do. I had a quick look at your website as well. You've got certain programs and different things on there, as well as the book. You also help people in different ways, don't you? Maybe just as we wrap our chat up for today, share a little bit about what else is on the website.
Basically, I have things like we've talked about. I have a blog that talks about all sorts of things in this area. I do not post regularly on that blog. I'm sorry. I just don't. I have too many other things in my life going on, and it just doesn't get done. But there's things on massage and oils and all sorts of different things there, as well as the mobility device problem. And I'm available for questions. I'm available for help with different topics. So, as we've covered a bunch of them today,
Yeah.
and that's the kind of thing I help people with, is all these different things.
Absolutely. No, it's really good. There will be a link below wherever people are listening to this. But what is your website? Just people have got it.
loveyourlongevity.com.
Perfect. I love that. That's brilliant. I think just kind of as we draw this episode to a close, I think a lot of it, there's a lot of wisdom what you shared, but also feeding into that and what we're listening to, it's like just the belief and the awareness that there is hope wherever we are, whoever we're looking after. There's always opportunity for change, whether that's environment, whether that's our approach, our habits, and how we look after ourselves or other people. There's always hope. So for people listening, keep that at the forefront of your mind as you listen to some of the stuff, and maybe you just have a think through what Linda shared about what can I do differently to make my tomorrow, my years ahead better, and for the people that I look after as well in business or relations, family, whoever it is, your next door neighbor, maybe. Lots of different ways that we can take what Linda shared, add it to our lives in a good way, and come out with positive change. But wherever you are, if you're struggling with your health at the moment, just keep hold of the fact that there is hope. Maybe things will change because you have to adjust and adapt for a period of time or whatever. Just embrace that change. You're still a person of value. Whoever you are and wherever you are, and whatever stage of life you're in, you have value, you have a lot to share. Linda's still going strong, sharing a message around the world, right from where she is now, which is really good. And it makes sense for people that are younger, people that don't have this expertise, to listen, to learn from the mistakes that they've made, that they're sharing, and happy to be vulnerable and share with us so that we can learn and make our lives better, and then the people that we look after and lead better as well. So yeah, lots of good inspiration there, Linda. Thank you for everything that you've shared with us. Any sort of parting thought your side, anything we haven't covered that you wanted to mention now?
I just do want the younger generation to realize that with any luck, you're going to be where I am someday. And with any luck, you're going to be in a better shape than I am, or that anybody else of my age may be. So, I mean, there's things happening all the time that they're finding that they can extend life through many things. I was in a trial with, I'm trying to remember what the name of the drug was. I can't remember what the name was, doesn't matter at the moment. But I was in a drug trial of all things for a holistic health practitioner. That was the trial they put me in. There were several different natural ones, but I got put in the drug one. But it was, rapamycin, that's what it was. Rapamycin trial, and that was over a year. And that was one of the drugs that they think will help extend life, as well as metformin, as far as drugs go. And then there were other things on the natural side that they did. So there's longevity things coming your way that we may be too late for.
Well, yeah, there is that, I suppose. Yeah, you're right. I think the conclusion I would draw just from listening today as well is the fact that, like, today's the day we can improve our health, isn't it? Whatever's happened before, maybe we haven't done stuff quite as well as we could before, but today, start today, make the rest of today and tomorrow better. I think that's a key thing. We can get so preoccupied with business, with activity, that we just put it off. Yeah, I'll do that one day, and it's like, it's going to catch up on you if you don't do the important stuff that you need to do, and it's different for different people. So you have to work it out yourself.
Remember the tagline for my business: health is life's bottom line.
Nice. That's really good. Yeah, I like that. Absolutely. We don't have health. We're limited in lots of different ways, aren't we? So yeah, that's really good. Thank you for what you shared, Linda. Really appreciate you. Enjoyed our discussion today. For everybody listening, as we said, stop and have a think about stuff. Maybe you are a caregiver, you run a care business, you know people looking after relatives that are caregivers. Get a copy of Linda's book, put it in their hands, help them to help other people and help themselves as well. Head to her site, just see what will work for you, what your next step might be. And if it's adjusting and changing something in your environment or just in your habits everyday life, definitely take action. Always encourage you to take action, because then we can change for the better. We are the leader of our own life, so we need to make sure we're leading it in the way that we want it to go. So lots to think about, as always. But thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you again, Linda. Appreciate your time. And we will catch you all on the next episode.
Thank you for listening to Yeukai Business Show. We will be back to bring you more episodes with success stories and advice straight from the experts. Want more? Check out www.yukaibusinessshow.com. Get your free trial of our virtual assistant service today. Just visit www.worldoutsourcingsolutions.com. Quote WOS18 or send us an email at support@worldoutsourcingsolutions.com.